Hey everybody, I'm the Linux Gamer. I'm here with Sven Hesse, the founder of the Xoreos project. How you doing, Sven?
Pretty well.
So Sven, in your own words, could you describe the Xoreos project for everybody?
Well, it's a re-implementation project of the BioWare Aurora engine, the engine that powers Neverwinter Nights, Neverwinter Nights 2, Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age, Jade Empire, these games, these BioWare RPG games. So I'm analyzing the games, how they work, and then I'm building my own stuff that replicates what the games do. And you still have to own the original game to run it, but then it basically replaces the executable file, the exit. And it's similar to ScanVM or GemRB or OpenMW. It implements the games.
Very cool. So what would you say inspired you to tackle such a massive undertaking?
Well, I always was a fan of Neverwinter Nights. When it first came out, I played it like mad, and there was a modding community, and there were lots and lots of community-created adventure modules and own campaigns and things like that. And I tried to do that at first, but the toolset that allowed you to do that only ran on Windows, and the Wine patch often crashed, and it was not really very nice. So I wrote my own toolset, or I started doing that. But then in the middle of it, I went to the ScanVM project and worked there for a while. And then I made friends there. And then I talked with one of them about Knights of the Old Republic. And we basically said that it would be nice if there was something like ScanVM for Knights of the Old Republic. And then I remembered that I did some Neverwinter Nights stuff and that I know the file formats pretty well. And I had a look at the data files of Knights of the Old Republic and saw that it was pretty similar. And I also noticed similar behavior in the game that I had seen in Neverwinter Nights. And so I took some ScanVM file IO classes and stripped them down and basically started this project. And yeah, wrote file format readers on that, and that friend that joined in then too, and then we implemented the base, and it then grew from there.
Very cool. So how did you first get into programming?
That goes way back. When I was 7 or 8, I got my first computer. It was a 386. And there was also the GW basic reference manual. It was a simple basic dialect, and I read that, and then I wrote my own programs. And for example, I read the Mickey Mouse magazine at that point, and it had psychological tests like, are you jealous, with the simple questions. Do you, if you see this and this, what do you do? And then the answers gave points, and at the end you tallied up the points, and it told you how jealous you are. And I programmed those in BASIC. Also, I recreated those tests on my computer with BASIC.
That's really cool.
That's how I started programming.
Yeah, I didn't get into programming. I'm not very good at it either, but I didn't get into programming until I was in maybe high school. And I'm 27 now, so when I was in high school, it was like 2007, and they were still teaching BASIC. So that's American education for you. I remember when I first learned BASIC, I was basically programming just little I don't know what you'd call them, like like movie hacking programs, like in the movies where it's like connecting to network on the screen or whatever. I was making those things where it did nothing. It just displayed text. It was all print. So yeah, that was always a thing that I opined, was the fact that I never got into programming when I was really young. So that's pretty cool that you've been doing it for a long time. What would you say the current state of your project is? Like, how playable are the games?
Well, they are not really playable as such, as you would recognize, but the the project auto-detects all the games that it wants to support, and then it starts them and shows the in-game area. So it shows the tiles in Neverwinter Nights, or the ground floor and the buildings in other games, and it shows the objects and the NPCs in most cases. And then you can fly around them in a kind of spectator mode style, like you know from a first-person shooter. You can fly around and click on objects, and it also executes the scripts that run when you enter an area or click on an object, but you mostly don't see it because there's still stuff missing.
Right.
But you can do that, and for Neverwinter Nights, it even already has the GUI setup and conversations and music and sound.
Finally, you're up. I was afraid you were going to sleep all day.
Neverwinter Nights is the game that's most complete at the moment. So you can already go in there and greet the NPCs, and then the door opens, and then you go to the next area, but not much further.
Right. So I watched some of the videos that you have available on YouTube for the project, and I was very impressed by what I saw on there. What would you say the next big piece of the project you need to tackle, especially for Neverwinter Nights, where that's the most complete?
For Neverwinter Nights, the next thing would be walk meshes. I need to read the walk meshes, evaluate how on which places you can walk, and have some pathfinding, and then have the character, the player character move around. That would be the next thing.
Very cool. For
the other games, there's a slight problem. I need someone who can rewrite the OpenGL renderer. When I first wrote it, I didn't really know much about OpenGL, just the old OpenGL 1.2 bits, the old fixed function pipeline. And I basically need someone who can rewrite this all to a newer OpenGL standard, how you would do it these days. There is someone who is working on this, but it takes time because it's such a huge thing.
OpenGL, so you're using 1.2, you said?
It's basically 1.2 with a few extensions, but it's still very much 1.2, and this is old.
Yeah. So if there's anyone out there who is familiar with newer standards of OpenGL, check out the project. It's a great project from what I've seen available on YouTube. They've got some great promising stuff going on over there. So your website is Xoreos.org, right?
Yeah. And in general, we need more contributors. This is such a huge project. Me on my lonesome, I really can't finish this. So there are a few people who are helping, but it's not enough by far. So I really need more contributors.
Absolutely. So there are 9 games that are listed on your website. They all run on the Aurora engine. Do you plan to support every one of those games?
In principle, yes. And so far, I've mostly focused on Neverwinter Nights, and then I took what was working in Neverwinter Nights to the other games. And this works partially, and then there's new things that come in the later games that are not working. And so so far I've been trying to equalize the engines, how they are working.
I know a little bit, not a whole lot, about the open engine re-implementation scene. I know there are other projects like OpenRA, which is super fun. I mean, all the games are really playable, and they share a lot of the same elements. The gameplay is very similar between all the games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that being the case, where Dune 2000, Command & Conquer, and Red Alert all have very similar gameplay, I'm wondering, a lot of the games that use the Aurora engine have very little to do with each other. Like Sonic Chronicles comes to mind, which is a Nintendo DS exclusive. So I'm wondering, what kind of challenges that poses.
Well, yeah, Sonic is the odd one out. All the other games, they are pretty similar to each other. Of course, there's new things coming in, but the basic is still the same. For Sonic, it's partially there. Also, you can see that the base of Sonic is still the BioWare engine,
Right.
but there's a lot of Nintendo exclusive formats and concepts stapled on there, and yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing to tackle.
For sure. I mean, they do have like the same kind of perspective. Like the camera perspective is very similar, but
the camera perspective is fixed though. The 3D objects are littered in the world, and the background is a static image. That's called. So it's so the perspective is a bit weird.
With the Nintendo DS being so like low resolution, scaling up those background images.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Right now, I fix it at the low resolution, and I need to see what I can do there. Maybe some high-res scaler like the HQ scalers. Maybe those can be applied to the background image. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's still fixed at the low resolution.
Right. Maybe there's somebody in the community who would like contribute high resolution versions that they worked on in their spare time. Is that a possibility?
Sure. Well, I don't want to replace those. I still want to use the original data files. So I don't want replaced images, but I want something that can automatically scale the images that are already there.
How much custom code do you anticipate having to write in order to implement each game?
That's a difficult thing to estimate. The base is similar for all of these games, and there's code that's used in all games. There's code that's used in 2 or 3 games, but there's also a lot of individual code. The individual game logic is individual for each game. Those are often driven by scripts, but often not. Sometimes driven by tables in the data file, sometimes not. So it's maybe about half of the code is common code, half of the code is specific for each game. Maybe it's hard to estimate. The newer games are the more difficult to re-implement.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
There's also a lot of middleware I need to reverse engineer, and I'm a bit scared about that. There's the Fmod and WWise sound middleware I need to re-implement. There's the Granny animation system. There's FaceFX for facial animation. There's SpeedTree for tree stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that's necessary to play these games as they were, and those are special things that will be difficult to reverse engineer.
I mean, how many of the games actually use Fmod?
The Dragon Age, the Dragon Age Origins uses Fmod. Dragon Age 2 uses WWise. So these are 2 things that do the same but differently. So that's already difficult.
Would it be possible to like create one like solution and then convert the files into another format, or do you want to have like a pure re-implement?
Yeah, I don't want to have the users download something that converts the files or even the files themselves, because that would be illegal. So I really want the user to click start and have the game run without much fiddling about.
Configuration without converting files. Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's a lot more work though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many of the games actually use like different facial animation?
Well, Neverwinter Nights 2 uses FaceFX for facial animations, and that was also a big problem in the Neverwinter Nights 2 modding communities, because they couldn't integrate facial animations in their new adventure modules. So they emulated that by plugging in random veilers and have the lips just flap about. And it would be great if there was a way to have that working properly and also provide that for future mods. So that's really a completely separate system that just doing the facial animations. The other games use their normal animation system for facial animations.
So would it be possible to like do some kind of like create the facial animation system and have it be able to read both the face FX and the standard animation?
Yeah, something like that. That would be the ultimate plan. Yes.
So at this point, I think you already answered this question a little bit, but do you plan on implementing any new features beyond like, graphical touches like high resolution?
In the far future. Right now, it's mostly about getting the games run like they did in the original. And I do know that the modding communities, especially the Never-Internet modding communities, there are people who really want new features for use in their new adventures or in their persistence worlds. That's something I really want to support. But so far, the main focus is to get the games run as is and no new features because they don't really fit in there right now.
Do you plan on supporting mods at all?
Yes, of course. That's one of the reasons the project exists to increase modability.
Very cool. And you plan on supporting most operating systems, correct?
Yeah. Right now, I know that it runs on Windows, on Linux, and Mac OS X, starting with 10.5. I know that someone has compiled it on FreeBSD and it works. I do want to increase portability. I try to keep the code as portable as possible. And theoretically, in the future, I also want to support mobile devices like Android devices and iOS devices that have been rooted, because there's no way I can get onto the Apple storefront.
Absolutely not. They don't like anything open source.
Yeah, no. Especially since I'm GPL v3, they really don't like the GPL.
Right. Oh no, not at all. The spirit of the GPL is all about hacking, hacker culture. So reverse engineering has always fascinated me. I'm wondering, what percentage of the development of this is reverse engineering the original game?
Well, depends on what you mean by reverse engineering. It's all reverse engineering, figuring out how something works and documenting it and building own things that are based on the figured out things. It's all reverse engineering. If you're talking about going from the disassembly, looking at the disassembly and then translating that into C code or C++ code, in Xoreos, not so much. When I was working with ScumVM, I did a lot of disassembly translation to a C and then abstracting things out. But in Xoreos, it's mostly about looking how things work and duplicating the effect. Because I found that the newer the games are, the more complex they are, the more features I have to abstract away so that it's portable, so that it fits with what I have already written, and so that I can stuff the other games into the same code base. So I have been looking at the disassembly for things like file formats, the specific edge cases, or the model files. But it's mostly about looking at what the game does and re-implementing by duplicating the effect.
Very cool.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, it really does. So is there anything that you want to say to anyone in the community about the project, appeal to anyone who has any technical programming skills?
Well, I really need contributors. I really need help. I can't do it on my own. I need people who are also into those games and want to see them flourish, want to see them reinstated. And we have a to-do list, a big Wembley to-do list, where you can find some inspiration on what you'd like to work. But it's mostly free for all. So everyone interested, please join me.
Absolutely. Your project really deserves more growth. I'm very excited to see where this project goes. I'm a huge Knights of the Old Republic fan. That I reviewed Knights of the Old Republic 2 on my channel a little while ago, and it's so much fun. I'm going to a D&D game right after this. So Neverwinter Nights kind of goes right into that.
Yeah, it's a licensed D&D 3, partially 3.5 game.
It's really cool to see the open source community, grow and come together and be able to produce things like this.
If anybody's interested in just creating adventure modules for Neverwinter Nights or running persisting worlds, they can also do that. So there's still a lot of people who are interested in the games from a player and builder perspective.
For sure. So your website is Xoreos.org. If anyone in the community wants to help out, please go check out his stuff. Your project's up on GitHub.
Yeah.
And there's a huge to-do list. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. There's a huge to-do list of things that needs to get done for the project so that everyone will be able to play it, Neverwinter Nights, and eventually all the other games that are part of the project. So, Sven, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I've had a blast talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you like this, please like, subscribe, comment, tweet at any of us over on Twitter. Are you on Twitter, Sven?
Yeah, I'm the real Dr. McCoy.
at the real Dr. McCoy. That's perfect.
Dr. McCoy was already taken, so I had to do a stupid pun.
He wasn't the actual Dr. McCoy, though. You are the real Dr. McCoy. So thank you guys for watching. At the Linux Gamer on Twitter, at the real Dr. McCoy on Twitter. Just help out with the project. It's awesome. Thanks for watching, guys.
ES9 is my favorite, then TNG, then Original Series, and then Voyager, and Enterprise at the bottom.
Yeah, Enterprise. That's a difficult one, and I'll tell you what. There are elements of Enterprise that I like, but I'll tell you, I really enjoy Next Generation. I really enjoy PS9.
Yeah.
The fact that